Yo, so does this server have a rec bot?
Wait, I'm on OBS.
Does this server have a rec bot?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, okay, all good.
Um,
Yeah.
give me a
Hold up.
second. Mm.
Let me turn my. Do you affirm pro-life or something like that? Hold up.
We can just like discuss the sort of motivations you think for believing abortion is morally justified.
Oh yeah, it follows from a normative view. If you want me to clarify on it.
It follows from. I thought you said you were agnostic on normative ethics.
I'm broadly agnostic on all the popular views, but I have my own view and some,
What's your
well,
view?
a belief on things which.
What's your view?
Yeah, are you a firm? Are you a yeah? Are you a fan of parochial altruism?
Nope.
Okay, well, the closest way I can describe it is I deem things which are more like us, or things which we, or people which we usually spend more time with, in a good sense. Well, good experiences with people. I deem those things which we value the most.
So people who we spend more time with the most, or something.
No, not really. That's really
People who we have
a
stronger,
reductionist way
better
of
experiences
explaining
with.
it. It's,
Is it?
that's one of the ways we value people most. So having good experiences, but usually it's just things which make people closer to us. So for example, you would obviously save your best friend rather than your bully because you had good experiences with it. But also, we'd
That is
usually
all.
say that you'd save a what?
Well, hold on. The reason for that would be just because I have stronger obligations towards my best friend rather than a bully. But it's unclear why that isn't.
Obligations? What do you mean? Can you
Um,
clarify on what you mean by
so
that?
because he's my friend, I have this sort of social contract with him where we mutually support each other, we mutually uplift each other, and we mutually give each other like positive experiences. So even though like intrinsically like both of them may be equally as valuable, one of them just has more instrumental value. But I'm confused like what
I'm
this
not
would
sure
have.
what you mean. I'm not sure when we say intrinsically, that seems as we are going more into meta, so I wouldn't
That
really go in that
intrinsic
language. But I
value
just
has
want to
nothing to
clarify.
do with has nothing to do with
I,
meta ethics. Intrinsic value as I'm just cashing it out is just what's it called? The sort of value or the sort of properties which have value insofar as they're just properties that the entity has. Whereas instrumental value would just be it has
okay.
value insofar as like its relation to myself. Right. But I'm
Yeah,
confused how like
so,
that view
I,
or the view you just laid out brings me any motivation towards like believing abortion is morally justified.
well, okay, so first I want to clarify on what you said before, but yeah, we can get into that. Uh, I'm already unsure when you say intrinsic value as in properties of things which we would like morally value rather than instrumental value, which is things which we value itself. The end
No,
of it itself seems like a view which some people will not uphold, so I would need an argument for that. But
I don't know what you mean.
uh,
It,
to
that's just my semantics. It isn't a proposition. Like, I don't know why you'd need an argument for something
oh,
that
you
is a
didn't defend it?
proposition. Hmm?
Okay. Well, it seemed as though you were trying to affirm it in a way, or implying it in a way, in which you're saying that, oh, well, I would not say my friend. Well, I would say my friend because of instrumental value rather than
No.
intrinsic value.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
the
did
sort
you
of
say that?
properties, okay, so the sort of properties that I value, like at least the base value that I have within both of them are the same. So for example, I say I value
Uh-huh.
like a human conscious experience. Right? Both of them have a human conscious experience and that's just one of the key core
Mm-hmm.
aspects. It's part of their nature in being a human, right? Or being a developed human. And this one also has just some additive property, and this additive property is in relation to myself, being that he provides me more positive experiences than the other person does, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
because of this relational property that it has, then I'd say it's more valuable, right? So it isn't like the whenever I say intrinsic value, I just mean
Oh
like
yeah, I wouldn't
the
say
sort of valuable
that's. I wouldn't
properties
say
which are
that's
like in
exclusive to my
relation to
view.
other entities.
I wouldn't say that's exclusive to my view.
Yeah, okay. So that's literally all I'm just
But
saying. That's the
to correlate
explanation.
it to
Wait, that's
okay,
just all
yeah, yeah,
the
that's all good. That's all
explanation.
good.
But
That's not exclusive to my view. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's the motivation for believing
So
abortion is morally justified now?
yeah, so as I'm trying to connect it right here, it basically goes that if we were to say that we value things which are closer to us, so for example, you name consciousness, that's one of the traits which I believe that brings an entity closer to us, which we would say we morally value. There's other such properties which go, in my opinion at least, the human bodily autonomy or like human biology in general.
I don't think those are
consciousness
inviolable
and
rights. Like I don't think
excuse me,
I
I didn't
don't think
hear you.
human bodily autonomy as a right is like inviolable.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can
So
you
like if
clarify?
you incur like some extreme level of harm onto some other entity through preserving your own bodily autonomy, I don't think like in all cases you should preserve your bodily autonomy. So say like somebody's like stepping
That's
on
not what I
your
mean.
toe and causing you mild amounts of harm and they refuse to leave, right, for like say a 5 week period. I don't think it's okay for me to like shoot him in the head, right, even though he
Yeah,
is
that's not what
like
I mean.
mildly violating my bodily autonomy. So
That's not at all what I mean. I say that we usually value things based on whether or not we can see ourselves in those like people. So, for
I don't
example,
grant
if you
that
have a
either.
human,
So
okay, that's cool. Can I just give you an example?
sure.
So, if we were to have a human and we don't really have any relations with a human, but then we have a human and a dog and we have a relation with neither, I'd assume that most people would grant that we would usually save a human rather than a dog, correct?
Us saving a human rather than a dog isn't doesn't speak to whether or not we value one and not value the other. That's just like confused.
What do you believe does it talk about?
So I just believe it speaks to whether which one we value more. I don't think it speaks to which one does or does
Oh.
not have value. I like I so for
I'm not saying,
example,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
always in relation to us and
yeah.
which
If you
we
just say
value more.
that,
Not
no,
that
hold on,
because I'm not saying,
wait, hold on.
okay, it's to
If you're just
clarify.
saying, hold on, I have a
You
question.
need
If you're just saying like,
clarification.
wait, I'm just saying
Okay.
if you're just saying that like, okay, one of them has more moral value in comparison to the other one, that's fine. I just don't know why, like, say if I grant that the mother has more moral value than the fetus, I don't know why I'd grant that that gives the mother some moral justification
That's not my
to end the
point.
life
That's
of the
still not my
fetus.
point. That's still not my point. You're
Okay.
assuming it. But if you're already granting, because you seem to cut me off as soon as I try to finish my speaking and then mischaracterize my point, because even you did it right now, you understood that I'm not saying that the one has no moral value. I'm just saying that
Okay.
one has more than the other. But can you let me connect the point right now?
Go on.
Thank you. So, um, it seems to me that we value things, well, these three properties which I named, the most when they're in conjunct, and I just haven't seen an argument that would suffice a certain threshold which I would value the mother's choice more than the fetus. If you can provide me with an argument for that, that would be cool. But
That's like that just commits you to agnosticism, saying that the amount of harm, right, which incurs or which happens to the fetus, you don't know whether or not the amount of harm is like valuable enough such that like it would be unjustified or for her to abort. That just commits you to agnosticism because if you trivially you don't know the sort of harm that incurs onto the fetus whenever you like what's it called, whenever an abortion takes place, right? You don't know, and you knowing is something that is actually so morally relevant such that it would change whether or not the action is morally justified or unjustified. That just commits you to agnosticism. So I'm just gonna give you an analogy. Do you think that like if the fetus was going
excuse
to
me,
be
can
like
you repeat what you
infinitely
said?
harmed? Okay,
I wasn't listening. Can
wait,
you
give me a
repeat what you
second.
said? Okay, I heard something.
Yeah, so what I was saying was your view commits you to agnosticism because you're saying that specifically if you don't know and you're unclear if whether or not the harm that incurs onto the fetus is morally relevant enough, right? Such that it will or will not be unjustified for the mother to have an abortion, right? Then you also, and this is a sort the sort of fact which is so morally relevant to such an extent that it weighs in on whether or not the action would be morally justified or unjustified. If you don't know, that commits you to agnosticism, right? And the analogy I was going to give you was specifically imagine a case where the fetus was like infinitely harmed if you were to have an abortion, right? Would Do you think abortion would still be morally unjustified or morally justified? Sorry,
Okay, well, first, I want
that
to
that was a
clarify a
yes or
couple of
no. Do you
things.
think it's morally justified or not?
I'm not trying to answer in a yes or no because I want to clarify a thing
I
which you
mean,
seem
you
to
can clarify
mischaracterize
once you're
again.
done, but I just want a clear yes or no to the question.
Okay, will you let me speak after I answer with a yes or no?
Yeah, go on. Just say yes or no,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah, so if the question is if the fetus will infinitely have. Hmm? Hold on. Okay, so if the question is if the fetus would have an infinite amount of harm done to it if the
Hmm.
abortion is done, then trivially the answer would be that we are not allowed to abort the fetus.
Okay. And do you know how
Can I
much?
clarify now?
Okay,
No,
go
you
on.
said I can clarify
Yeah, go
after
on.
it. Okay, so the reason why it wouldn't make me agnostic is simply because I already have my reasons or my motivation as to why I believe that the mother's choice outweighs the fetus's potential life. And also, based on the properties I gave, I don't want to clarify this. I believe that when the fetus gains sentience, it's trivially the case that the fetus fulfills all the properties I gave, all the criteria I gave. So we wouldn't be morally allowed to abort it after it gains sentience. So when you deem harm, that language confuses me a bit since
Um,
your account of harm may differ than mine, but I
okay,
don't
yeah.
believe that.
So there's a
Okay.
few things. So one, if you're saying that okay, the fetus does not satisfy these specific traits, therefore this is the motivation why I think it's morally justified, or like you're saying that it having these traits is motivation for you to believe that. I don't think that is motivation for you to believe that. Maybe it's sort of motivation for you to believe that it's more valuable, right? However, for you to say that it's more valuable and this other property or and this other claim, such as more morally is more morally valuable, and it's also morally unjustified for me to have the abortion, right? I don't think the properties you listed commit you to both of those claims, right? I think it only commits you to the first claim, being that it's more morally valuable, right? Saying that commits you to the second one would need an argument for it, right? And I don't think you've provided an argument. But the second thing you said is, look, I think you can be harmed in a deprivational sense. I think you can be harmed actually in a variety of senses. But specifically, what I'm talking about now is a deprivational sense. You're depriving the fetus of these future valuable experiences, and because you're depriving it of them, then you're harming it, right? So if you agree specifically that if say an infinite amount of like positive future experiences were to be deprived in the case in which you were to have an abortion, right? And we don't know currently how much harm that is incurring onto the fetus through an abortion, right? Then you cannot claim whether or not this thing meets the sort of threshold of harm, right? Which you're trying to affirm is needed to be met, quote unquote, for you to like what's it called? For you to
My
say that it's morally
threshold,
justified.
to
Mhm.
clarify, my threshold is not a threshold of harm. To clarify, my threshold is threshold of how much I value things based on the amount of properties that they
Do
suffice on
you
my view that
okay?
I just
So I have
gave.
a question. Do you think, and this is
So,
just a yes or no, do you agree with the like the ethical maxim you could call it, or just general ethical rule that we should not maximize suffering beyond necessity?
that we should not maximize suffering beyond necessity?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Do you believe it is necessary for the suffering to occur to the fetus or the harm to occur to the fetus, right? In the case of abortion.
Well, no, not really.
Okay, so then if you agree with that, that we should not maximize suffering beyond necessity, and the suffering that incurs onto the fetus in the case of abortion is not necessary, then you also agree that we should not like
I'm,
maximize suffering in
hold
this
up,
case, lest you be
hold up.
arbitrary in your judgments.
To
Hmm.
clarify, I don't know if I understood you right. I'm saying that I don't believe the harm is done to the fetus during abortion.
Where you don't think harm is done onto the fetus?
Yes, I don't prescribe myself to a
Why?
desperation sense of harm. I don't believe that harm can be done to things which aren't actual at that point in time.
Yeah, that doesn't answer the question. Like, why?
Why? What? Why don't I prescribe
Yeah,
myself to the like
okay.
desperation?
I'm just gonna lay out the sort of semantics I have whenever I say an entity is deprived. It just means that like
Okay.
you can understand it like a counterfactual sense that if this action was not done, then the entity would have what's it called? Then the entity would have gone on to experience these like traits of value, right? Or these positive moral traits, right? Because the action is done, it will not, right? Do you disagree that this sort of relationship or this sort of relation is satisfied in the case in which I have an abortion?
I believe that a fetus is deprived of experiences in abortion. I don't believe that's a like an accurate account of harm in which I'd consider it morally impermissible.
You
Now,
don't think that you don't think deprivation is a morally relevant account of harm?
not to the extent that you seem to believe that it is. Can you give an argument,
Somebody
please?
else is speaking. Okay. But
Do you need me to repeat myself?
yeah, no, it's fine. But okay, so
Okay.
in the case in which, say for example, it was like a 90-year-old woman and like say a 12-year-old child, and then you had the option to murder one, or like say you had the option to murder one to save the life of the other. Which one would you murder?
I'd murder the grandma, but not because of the desperation.
Yeah,
Well, no,
I mean
not
that's
because of the
just
kind
like
of harm which you just
perfectly
listed.
accounted for
It's,
under my view that we just what's it called? It's
it's
just
also
perfectly
accounted for
wait,
my
hold
view.
on. It's perfectly explained
Okay.
under my view because under my view the what's it called? The 12-year-old can be harmed more, and we already have the maxim of do not multiply harm beyond necessity, or do not like create harm beyond necessity, right? And if
No,
that's
that's not
true,
why I
hmm?
believe. That's not the reason why I would say
Okay,
that
what's
we
the
would.
reason why you'd say that?
Oh yeah, the reason why I'd say we'd strive to have the 12-year-old live would be simply because the 12-year-old didn't fulfill all the criteria I provided
What?
previously, which is the yeah. So do you remember the
What,
criteria
what
which
were
I
the
gave?
criteria? Sorry, lay them out again.
Yeah, the criteria I gave were consciousness.
Hmm.
The criteria I gave were the biology of a human, and the criteria I gave were the memories which we have with the person. Because the 12-year-old didn't well, fully complete those criteria, I wouldn't
Okay,
deem that.
hold on. So
Yeah, what's up?
the last property you said is like relational. You said memories we have with the person. If we
Yeah,
just
the relation.
stipulate,
I have no issue. I
hold on.
think.
If we just
Yeah.
stipulate you don't have any memories with the person, do you think that like is still morally? You think like now both of them are of equal value?
If we have a grandma and if we have a 12-year-old, and then we have both of them without any memories of either of them, like we don't have any
Yeah, no,
personal
you
experiences
don't have any
with,
memories of either of them, and you will never get memories of either of them.
with either of them. Yeah, I wouldn't personally care which one goes.
Wait, okay, hold on. So you hold the view that say if there was like a crying child and like a 90-year-old grandmother, if you had the option to pick one or the other, you wouldn't be able to pick?
The reason why I'd say a crying
Wait,
child is
that
because
was
I
just
believe
like
the
a yes or
relational
no. Like,
properties.
do you think, what's it called? Hold on. Do you think that both of these entities are harmed equally?
In relation to me, yes.
No, hold on. Not in relation to you, because I don't take most accounts of harm to be like relational to the entity which is not the subject of harm. Right.
The semantics of harm here confuse me because I
Okay,
already
hold on.
disagree with the
Actually, no.
fact that this
We
is
can we can
harmful in
talk
the
about
way.
this now. When you say harm, what do you mean?
When I say harm, I just mean that there are some bad experiences which we put on an entity.
So if we, okay, hold on. So if we were to take both of their lives and painlessly, you don't think that either of them are harmed?
Not in the sense that we usually talk about when we say harm now.
Uh, Hold on. Do you know like any of the other like any of the philosophical accounts of harm that exist, or do you just like only subscribe to
Yeah, I
like
know.
psychological profile accounts of harm? Like so that if it
Well, no,
causes you
I
to have like negative experiences, then it's harmful.
if it causes you, no, that's not the only account of harm I abide by, but I'd say it's the most consistent way with how you usually use it in society. Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's just like an empirical claim that you don't have evidence for. But the second thing is
I
like,
don't
look,
have evidence for
yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't,
obviously based
yeah,
on my
I don't
personal.
think
No,
you
no, no,
have
no.
evidence
Yeah,
for that. But yeah,
I'm not disagreeing with the fact that we don't have empirics based on it. I'm just saying based on my belief and based on what I
okay,
observed.
so
That's
hold on.
what I
Whenever
derived
you
of.
see
But there's no
somebody
issue with
like
that.
whenever you see somebody like mourning, say a school shooting happening, and then they tell you, "Oh my goodness, they were so young. They had a whole bright future ahead of them, right?" And they are mourning especially because of that, compared to say somebody who's old dying, right? And then somebody says, "Oh, their time was coming anyway," right? Say both of them died of cancer, right? And why do you think like people are typically sadder in the case of somebody who's younger?
Oh, because they believe that they could have had more positive experiences with them.
No, wait, hold on. If it's a stranger and they make the same remark, do you think they're confused?
I wouldn't say that they deem it in the same sense as they knew it. Yeah.
Wait, wait, repeat what you said?
The term
Wait, no,
confused
no, hold on,
is.
hold on. Repeat what you said?
Wait, what do you mean confused? Yeah, what I said was I
Hmm.
don't believe they would deem it in the same sense as when
I
they
don't know
knew
what you mean when
those
you say
people,
Dima. Like, so wait, hold
as
on. Do you
in
not think the
feel
same
it in the
remark? Hold
same
on,
sense.
I'm just questioning. Do you not think the
Mhm.
same remark is appropriate if I say, "Oh, he had such a bright future ahead of him," in the case of a stranger, like a child stranger who I didn't know dying, compared to if somebody who I did know, a child I did know dying? You think that if I make that same sort of statement in response to a stranger, I'm using the statement inappropriately because they don't have any sort of memories that are connected with myself? Is that what you think?
No, because they fulfill the other criteria which I named, but it's more
That
appropriate in
doesn't
the way that
matter.
you're using the
That
one.
doesn't matter.
Oh, can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Question mark. Okay,
Sure.
thank you. So it's more appropriate in the sense when you knew this person because you had some personal memories with this person, but
Hmm?
it's also appropriate to some
Repeat
extent,
what you
just not
said.
to the full
Sorry.
extent. Okay, so it's more appropriate if we were to utilize it in the sense where this person you have personal experiences with, because then, in relation to you,
Wow, that
you're
guy.
more morally. You can I finish?
Yeah,
You
go
would
on.
more morally value that person. But if we were to say in the sense in which, oh, I'm sad that these kids died. Well, they're still deprived of the previous properties or criteria which we gave to them, which is
Uh,
human biology and consciousness, which they had.
Hold on.
They
And
no
is
longer,
depriving them of those properties harmful?
uh, because they felt bad. Yeah, because
That's
they
just
had
a
bad
yes or no.
experiences before dying. They
Wait, hold
had
on.
bad experiences before they died.
Hold on.
They
If I
were
were to take
harmed.
someone's
What the
life, no,
fuck?
no, no. Hold on. There's just actually just a few questions here. So one, when you say it's
Yeah.
more appropriate in the case in which you knew the person personally, I'd like some form of motivation towards
I'm
that.
sorry. Can you
Either
repeat that?
wait, am I lagging? Hello.
No, you weren't. I was just reading chat. Can you repeat what you
Yeah,
said?
okay. So one, there's just a whole bunch of like confusion here. So you said that specifically
Okay.
that it would be more appropriate if you were to use the term with somebody who you already knew. I'd like a motivation towards that. I don't think there's any sort of sound motivation towards that, solid motivation towards it. And then two, you
Yeah,
said that.
sure. Can
So
I can I get to
hold on.
that?
Two, you said that like specifically.
Can I get to
If
that,
wait,
bro?
hold on. You said that specifically. If I do an action towards you, right, and then be actually no. Imagine like a case where like I say I drug a fetus, right? Say a woman's like pregnant, and while she's asleep, I inject the fetus with some serum such that the fetus will never be able to experience positive emotions ever again. Do you think I did something harmful to the fetus? And
As in, it
imagine the
can
mother
never.
doesn't care. Like she doesn't care. There's no
Imagine.
negative
So
emotional feelings attached
nobody,
to her.
so nobody ever cared if this thing, well, fetus, my fault, had any positive experiences in the future, nor did it itself care.
Hmm? No, no, no. It is not unable to care. You think that if I deprive, like, or if I like cause somebody
Is
to
the
be in
fetus not
such a
able to have
state?
negative experiences either?
What'd you say?
Does the
If yeah,
fetus
he's
not have
not going
negative
to. He's
experiences
not going to be
either?
able to. He's not going to be able to register any of these sorts of experiences as positive or negative. Do you think that
Any
like?
experience.
Hold on. I'm just going to rephrase the question.
You
Do you think
said
if I?
positive.
Do you think? Wait, hold on. Do you think if I caused
I'm
a
sorry,
random
bro.
person to become completely emotionless, right, through some surgery, that I did not harm them?
And nobody ever cared, ever?
Nobody ever cared. No, nobody
So there
aside from
was
them.
no experiences attributed to this certain situation.
I don't know what you mean when you say no experiences. There is an experience, but they just won't ever be able to register it as positive or negative.
So there was no positive or negative experiences
Nope.
which
I
are attributed to
just
the
stopped them and
situation.
imagine they'd have like an extremely happy life should I have not done that. Right. But now they'll never be able to experience the emotion of happiness
Trivially,
ever again.
trivially, if there's no positive or negative experiences attributed to the situation, we cannot deem this situation as bad or good. What the
I
fuck?
didn't say whether or not it's bad or good. That's another confusion. I said whether or not it's harmful.
Oh,
You can
excuse
have
me, I didn't hear
harmful.
what you
Wait,
said.
hold on. You can have harmful actions done which are also
Oh,
like
yeah,
morally
sure.
justified. So yeah, the question is,
Yeah,
if the woman was
so,
going to be extremely happy and I caused her to become completely emotionless, right? You don't think I harmed her?
yeah, so my apology on that. When we usually talk about harm, we talk about bad experiences. And if there is no,
That's
like,
question
positive or
begging.
negative, can I continue? Can I
Yeah,
answer the
go on,
question?
bro.
And I say we usually attribute those semantics. I mean, if you don't usually attribute
I don't know
like
who we
bad
is.
experiences to harm, but people generally.
Yeah,
But as
that's
I was trying to,
question
can I
begging.
answer the question now? Can I answer
Yeah,
the
yeah.
question
Just
now?
answer the question in a yes or
Question
no
begging.
format, please.
Yeah. So no bad or positive experiences attributed to these actions. No, I don't believe that's a harm.
Okay, hold on. So if a woman was going to, and I just want to like get this clear for everyone in the VC. So if a woman was going to be extremely happy if I didn't do the surgery onto her, right? But I randomly walked up to her and I did the surgery onto her such that she'll never be able to experience emotions again. You think I didn't do anything harmful to her?
Yeah, such that there
Okay.
was no positive or
Mm-hmm.
negative experiences attributed to the situations. I don't believe that it's a bad
Okay.
experience, nor that it
Okay.
was
And
harmful
do you think,
experience.
say for
Just
example, I knocked somebody
trivially.
unconscious painlessly, right? And I used their body for my own pleasure. They woke up and now they are unable to experience emotions again. You don't think I did anything harmful to them, correct?
No, that's trivially bad action.
No, no, no. That is not why I asked you that.
That's trivially
Maybe
harmful
it's
action.
bad insofar as some other reason.
That's
You clearly
trivially
hold
that's
on, hold on.
trivially a harmful action. You're
Wait, okay.
impeding
Why
on
is it
that
harmful?
person's.
Under your view, why is it
Yeah,
harmful?
yeah, you're impeding on those person's criteria which I previously named,
You okay?
which
Hold
is
on. No,
their
hold on. Because
biology of the
I
human.
asked you like quite clearly before to define
Yeah,
harm.
what's up?
Wait, and you said for you to be harmed, you need to cause somebody to have negative experiences, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if the person is unconscious, they won't remember it after. Imagine it's like Yas's brother, right? They won't remember it after. How is what I just did to them harmful, under your view?
Because it also appears in the criteria again.
And the criteria you gave is consciousness, biology of a human, right? And biology of a human,
memories.
and memories we have, with the person.
Yeah, in relation to that person.
Can you explain to me how they are impeding upon their consciousness?
No, I'm not. Well, you're impeding upon their consciousness because usually people feel things around them.
It's stipulated out of the analogy already. I don't know why this matters.
Yeah, and also, well, that's you just deemed it to be impeding on consciousness,
but that's yelled in the background. Sorry, but
no.
Hold
but
on.
That's not,
Which one of these criteria are now impeding on? Just to be clear.
Both their biology of a human and their consciousness.
Why am I impeding upon their consciousness?
You're impeding upon their consciousness because you're not allowing them to be able to have any sort of negative or positive experiences in the future.
I mean, okay, and hold on. And you don't think that is okay? You don't think that sort of trait is also true for the fetus in the case in which I abort it, where I'm now no longer allowing it to have
the
any
fetus
sort of
doesn't
negative.
Have consciousness.
Wait, hold on.
The fetus,
hold on. What you just said.
They're confused on what you're talking about right now.
Hold on. Stop. Right. What you just said is that it's harmful insofar as I'm causing it to be in a state such that it's unable to have any negative or positive experiences, right? And that sort of property or that sort of action is also true in the case of the fetus, right? Where I am causing it to be unable to have any negative or positive experiences in the future because it's dead.
The distinction would clearly be that the fetus never had the criteria which we previously attribute to the person which you knocked out unconscious and raped, right? So trivially, that would not be the same action.
Contradiction then, on your view. That's like a contradiction.
Where's the contradiction?
Okay,
where's the contradiction?
Previously, 5 seconds ago, I asked you whether or not it would be harmful if I were to inject a woman with a serum such that she'll never be able to experience consciousness, she'll never be able to experience positive or negative experiences again, right? And she'll never, and she would have been extremely happy otherwise. You said it isn't harmful. Now you're saying it is harmful. Right, so that's like already straightforward. Wait, hold on. That's already straightforward. Yeah. Either you walking back or contradicting your own view. So
yeah, I assumed you just meant she would have. Well, if we were to say that she can no longer deem it bad or good experiences, I would just assume that you meant her either unconscious or in some way brain dead.
No. She can be She can be completely conscious, right, without having any sort of qualia.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. I don't think that was my fault. My fault. She can be completely conscious.
My fault.
Wait, hold on. Also, that's still a reductio. You don't think me causing people to be brain dead is harmful?
Can I finish up? What I meant was she will no longer be able to have any sort of she's unconscious. She will no longer have the ability to experience any sort of bad or good things. I'm not saying that's not harmful. I'm saying that you causing her to be brain dead, we cannot attribute any relational properties of memory to that person
we cannot.
Anymore.
Okay, hold on.
But
So us
can I clarify? Can I answer the first thing? Can I answer the first thing? Just a second. Just a second. You always overtalk me. Just a second.
I just want to get clear.
Just a second.
You literally just.
You always cut me off. Jesus, can I please answer?
Actually, you know what? My bad, bro. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, thank you. So, if the analogy was never, or if the reductio was never assuming the fact that she's no longer conscious, then I just say, yeah, that would be bad because you are impeding on the two criteria which I previously said for the person which you did the other thing to.
Okay, so I just want to get clear, and I don't know why you needed to say that, but I just want to get clear specifically. So if I do cause the woman to never be able to be conscious again, that did not harm her?
I don't know, because
what do you mean you don't know? You just said no.
Well, I'm thinking about it right now, and it seems as though you're still impeding on. It seems as though you're still impeding on the criteria which I gave.
Okay, and specifically, can you explain to me how am I impeding upon your consciousness?
Impeding on her consciousness by causing her to be brain dead. Do you need that clarification?
Under your view, I need just a clear explanation under your view. I don't know what. In fact, can you tell me when you say impeding upon your consciousness, what does that even mean? Do you just mean
it seems that it seems as though you're enabling them to have any sort of conscious experiences.
And what?
It seems as though you are enabling them to have any sort of future conscious experiences or any sort of conscious
I am
experience.
enabling
Period.
them to have future conscious experiences. I think you want to
Enabling,
reword
like
that.
not allowing them to have any sort of future, like
So
enabling them.
I
I
just
don't
want
know
to
if
get
that's the
clear.
proper
For me
term.
to impede upon your consciousness, right, the necessary and sufficient condition needed is for me to stop you from having any future conscious experiences. Yes.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying those are. I'm not saying these are necessary or sufficient conditions. I'm saying in these situations, that's what I mean. Like the context dependent,
Hold on.
but you can
So the
impede on
meaning
consciousness
changes
in
with
many other
context?
ways, right? What?
Wait, hold on. So
Yes, the
you
meaning
can
of
impede on
things
it in other
can
ways.
change
Can
in
you just like
context.
list
Yes.
me the ways, please?
Yeah, if I were to, for example, go up to you and start screaming in your ear or blast loud ass music so you are not able to think straight, that's me in some way or shape or form attacking your conscious, correct? Or you seem to
Maybe.
disagree?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. But I'm asking you in what form.
Okay.
You just. Okay. Hold on. I'm asking you in what form. You just said the action does it. I'm asking you in what way does the action do that or satisfy those traits?
Excuse me, can you repeat yourself? I was
Okay, you just named me an
just.
instance of it happening, but that isn't what I asked you. I asked you specifically how it's happening, right? Like I can agree that with like me stabbing you in the chest is harmful, right? But
How it's happening, how you're impeding on consciousness.
you didn't illuminate me on how exactly you think it's harmful under your view.
Yeah, so it's harmful because when you aren't allowing a person to think straight, they aren't capable of utilizing their consciousness. So in the same sense as we all are, so you're impeding on their ability to think, right?
Repeat what you said.
To
Sorry.
have conscious experience. Yeah, so if you're blasting loud ass music to them, and they're to the extent that they're not able to think straight,
Yes.
or not able to think at all properly, you're impeding on the consciousness in a manner in which they're not able to think, which I would just deem as harmful to them because they are
Okay.
not utilizing the criteria which I gave
Hold on. So
adequately
for
because of
me
you.
to hold on, and I just want to get clear again. So for me to harm you in that manner, like what I need to do specifically is put you in such a state where you're unable to think properly or able to think at all.
That's a way to impede on
Okay,
consciousness
then
because you
yeah,
asked me for other way.
under your
Just
view
to
then.
clarify,
Mm-hmm.
there's you said asked me for one other way. That's one of the many
Yes, yeah,
ways
so
that that
yeah,
can
yeah,
happen.
so no, that's fine. So under your view, like at least
Okay,
that's one of the ways a fetus can be harmed. But regardless, now I just need to like
a
another
fetus can be
question. Wait,
harmed. A
hold on.
fetus doesn't
Now,
have
no, hold on,
consciousness
hold
under
on,
my.
hold. Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
matter. That isn't baked into your own definition already. Like under your
it
own
doesn't have.
definition.
It
Wait,
doesn't fulfill the
specifically, hold on,
criteria.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Right. What
Okay,
you just
go.
told me is for me to harm you in that specific way, I need to put you in such a state where you are unable to think straight, right, and also unable to like think properly, quote unquote, whatever that
You
means, right?
fulfill
If
the
wait,
you
hold on,
fulfill the
hold on, hold on,
criteria.
hold on,
You
hold on,
fulfill
hold
the
on, hold
criteria.
on,
Oh my
hold
god.
on, dude, right? If I put you in such a state where you're unable to think properly, trivially, I fulfilled the criteria already, right? And when you say it's fulfilled the criteria, like, we also just need to like establish one. Are those sort of traits that you listed
Wait, can you
exhaustive
repeat
as
what
to
you
whether or
said?
not as to whether or not a human has moral value?
Can you repeat what you said? I was reading chat.
Hmm? Okay.
Can you repeat what you said? I was reading chat.
Yeah, okay. Are those traits exhaustive as to whether or not a human has moral value?
I'm not sure what you mean by exhausted, but you said
Are those
something
the
prior
only
to that. There
sort
was
of
no way you would
traits?
talk for that long just to say that.
Yeah, I just told you like in 2 seconds, in 2 sentences. Like, are those all of the traits in which you need to satisfy in order to have moral value?
Are those wait, what? I'm sorry, I was reading chat again.
Oh my goodness.
Are
Jesus
those all the
Christ.
traits you have to satisfy to have moral value? No, 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 no. If all you're asking me is, do you have to satisfy all the traits to have moral value? No.
No, that isn't what I asked you. I asked you like, are these all
I
wait, hold on,
apologize.
hold
Can you
on. I asked you
repeat?
specifically, and I just want to get clear. Are these sort of necessary traits that you need for moral value?
By necessary, do you just mean like in
Like,
what
do you
sense? A
need at
necessary
least one of
condition?
these traits to have moral value under your view?
Yeah, so those are the main traits, but I'm open to like accepting more traits if
Yeah,
you have any. But those are the main traits. Yeah.
I'm confused why I would grant specifically why those are all of the sort of those are exhaustive lists of traits in which we value. Right. If I said that, for example, I value a fetus because it has future valuable experiences, right? It's unclear specifically what makes those sort of criteria the only sort of criteria you need to meet to have moral value in comparison to the fourth one which I just posited for you. Oh, for you, Jesus Christ.
Excuse me. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Dude, you can't be
I'm so
serious.
sorry. No, I'm dead ass reading chat because I low key got bored. But
Okay,
can you
bro.
just
Look, I'm just gonna
no?
ask the
I'm
question
sorry.
again.
Just
I'm just gonna ask the question again, and then like, if you don't give me any
yeah,
reason, we can just move on to something else, right? Okay, do
yeah,
you
yeah.
have a solid motivation as to why any of those sorts of traits, for example, say the consciousness trait, is an exhaustive list of values in which we have whenever we're determining whether or not an entity does or does not have moral value?
I'm not sure what you mean by an exhaustive list of
Are
traits.
those the only list of traits in which we value? I know you said that there was more, but my question is, okay, why is it the case that these sort of traits in which we you've posited do bring you like superior moral values, say to like towards the future like ours that a fetus has?
Oh, well, I don't believe that future like ours is a strong argument in the first place. If you're
That doesn't
asking me
answer my
why, yeah.
question.
Well, yeah, the reason why I believe that I have a list of motivations as to why these criteria I provided have stronger, have stronger credence behind why I would value them more than a future like ours. Yeah, if that's the question.
Okay, I asked you for the credence, right? And
For the
I
credence,
asked you for the credence.
yeah, yeah. If you're asking me for the credence of any one of these traits, I mean, I can provide you with a credence. For example,
No, 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 no. That's
are
what
you
I'm
cool with just
asking you.
giving?
That's what I'm asking you either. I'm not asking you to motivate whether or not
Then
these traits
excuse
are
me.
valuable. I agree conscious entities are valuable. I'm asking you
Okay.
insofar as specifically, right? Do you think that they are, or do you think these are the only traits we value? And if they are not the only sort of traits we value, why is it the case
Oh, I
that
already
the wait,
answered that
hold it, yeah,
question.
yeah, okay. Well, and then this was the second part of the question. And if they are not the only traits we value, right? Why is it the case in which that the traits you named just are like valuable enough such that it would be morally justified for you to for you to like say take the life of the fetus, right? Which also has traits in which I value. Wow.
Well, it seems to be the traits which you value rather than the traits which I value. But I also would agree to some extent that the fetus fulfills some of the traits which I would value. Just as I already said before, it doesn't value them to the extent which I already told you to fulfill the
If
threshold of whether or not I should. Like we're regressing back to like the first 10 minutes of the debate. There are traits there are traits which I named, which fetus fulfills. So
mhm.
obviously, fetus has some moral value. However, I'm saying that I haven't seen an argument convincing enough to motivate me to say that the fetus's traits which it fulfills are valid. Sorry, I hear my echo. Can Chris
Yeah,
mute?
somebody's mic is like bugging out in the background. But this just sounds like button shifting. Like no back. This just sounds like button shifting. I
Yeah,
don't
I
think I
just
need.
didn't find.
Yeah, yeah. This just sounds like button shifting. I don't think I need
And
to give you. Wait,
we can
hold on,
look
hold
back
on.
into the recording if
Wait, no, no, no. Wait, I'm saying the statement you just said sounds like burden shifting, and I'll explain why. I don't think I need to give you any specific sort of motivation as to why the sort of value in which the fetus has supersedes the value you have on a like a regular human, or whether or not the value in which a fetus has is actually valuable enough such that the like, an
yeah, I can
abortion would
give
be
you the
morally
motivation.
unjustified, right? If we are completely
You
unclear, wait, hold on. If we're completely unclear how much the value of a fetus compares to the value of a woman, or specifically the value that she has towards like or say her bodily autonomy, right? If we are unclear how the fetus's value stacks up onto that, right, then there's no motivation for you to believe the abortion is morally justified, right? Because for abortion to be
yeah
morally
yeah
justified, there needs to be below the threshold, and you just told me you don't know if it's above or below the threshold, unless you have a reason
excuse
why
me.
it's below the threshold.
I have the reason as to why I place the threshold of the mother's opinion so high. But when I
That
tried to
doesn't
give you
answer the
the
question.
motivation for that, you said that that's not the question. Well, it seems as though you're asking me. My fault if I'm misunderstanding. It seems as though you're asking me, what is the reasoning behind why fetus's criteria is below the threshold,
Mm-hmm.
which you named. Is that if that's what you're asking me, then I can give you. I believe I will suffice. This is also just being charitable on my end, but I also believe that I can give you the motivation that will suffice as to why the mother exceeds the threshold which I placed under the
That
fetus
doesn't
mother's
also.
opinion.
No, hold on. Do you know what threshold I'm talking about?
I'm talking. Well, it's my threshold, so I assume you're talking about the same threshold I have. The threshold I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
is the threshold of how much we morally value
No,
entity X based on the criteria which I provided. That's my
no.
threshold which I'm talking about, and you seem to be going under those same semantics which I'm
I don't
giving you.
know. I
So
don't know why
if you
there'd
have
even
some
be a
different
threshold
threshold,
there.
it's not appropriate.
Wait, hold on. I don't know why there'd be a
There is
threshold.
a
Wait, hold on, hold on. There's two things. I don't know
what?
why there'd be a threshold there. If we're just measuring how much it's valuable, right? I don't know why there'd be a threshold unless there's some like other additive property you're going to like add
What
on
do you
to it.
believe?
Wait. Can I finish?
What
Unless
do you
there's some. Wait,
believe
can I finish? Can I
threshold
finish?
means?
Wait, can I
Can I
finish?
just
Wait,
clarify,
can I
please? I'm
finish? Can I
sorry.
finish? Can
Yeah.
I finish? But unless there's some form of additive property and
Rux
it'll add on
gone,
to
Rux
it.
gone,
Should
Rux
it?
gone.
Yes, okay, that's what I'm just saying. Unless, right? But look, specifically, the sort of threshold I'm talking about is whether or not the sort of threshold of harm or the sort of threshold of value that is needed, such that if you were to harm or do anything to or take the life of this entity, which does have this value, right, then it would be morally justified or unjustified, right? And that is why specifically I asked you, if you think that says whatever trait you think that the fetus has, which is morally valuable, if we maximized it to infinity, if you think it had an infinite amount of traits in which you're like an infinite amount of whatever trait you think the fetus has that are valuable, would it be wrong to abort it? The answer was yes. So now the question is, why is it the case that the fetus just does not meet the sort of arbitrary threshold of value you have, such that it would be morally unjustified for you to abort it?
Well, first things first, I don't believe the threshold is arbitrary, but you said that you don't even believe or you don't see a reason as to why that would be a threshold. Can we just clarify on the meaning of threshold here? Because I do believe that whether or not we believe that something has moral value to the extent in which we do permit certain action or not is the threshold we place onto the action of moral value, which things has to have. So can we just clarify what we
That's
mean by
unclear.
threshold?
What did you just say?
I'm just asking for the clarification of the meaning of threshold.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
At least in this context, whenever I'm asking you for your threshold, all I'm asking you is whether or not like the fetus actually has this certain amount of value, such that there would be a trait distinction between in the case in which it is morally justified for me to take its life and the case in which it is morally unjustified for me to take its life. If it's unknown the amount of value that it has, then it's also unclear why it does not meet that threshold. And if it's unclear why it doesn't meet that threshold, then you can't justify the proposition you're affirming. So
Was that the definition of threshold? Because that's all I was asking.
Yeah.
I was just asking for your definition of threshold.
I gave you the definition and I also elaborated on what I was talking about.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Full
Can you
pings?
repeat
Give me a
it?
second. 2 people are DMing me. We won't debate when I'm in score. MB.
No disrespect to you. I just told you I'm like analyzing evil
I'm
and
back.
noism.
I'm back. Yeah. So can you like answer the question I was asking you?
No, we were clarifying the definition of threshold when you left.
Yeah,
because I didn't
told
hear
you.
what you said.
Okay.
I said, yeah, I already said I didn't hear what you said. Can you repeat just the definition?
Whenever I'm
I don't
talking
need
about
how it
threshold in
responds.
this context, I'm just saying whether or not it meets some level of value that you have or not, such that there would be a trait distinction within the case in which it is morally justified for me to take its life, compared to the case in which it is not morally justified. You understand?
Oh yeah, trade distinction. Yeah. If all you're asking is for the trade distinction,
That's
then
not.
we
Well,
can
okay.
easily.
Do you want to conclude?
That's the last part I heard. My fault. If you want to repeat it, I can just step it down.
Yeah, okay. So what I said was, I'm asking you specifically, like, whenever I say that there's a threshold, I mean some amount of moral value that it has, such that there would be a trait distinction. So, like, if if we measure this moral value in terms of like numbers, for example, if it met like the value number 10, then it would be morally unjustified for me to take its life. But
Yeah,
if it does not meet
that seems
it,
to be the same way I'm using it. So all
Okay.
you're saying is, whenever I say amount of moral value, it is such that there is a trade distinction between the like two moral values which you attribute to it. Correct?
Repeat what you said?
So this is from like what you said verbatim. So whenever you say more like amounts of moral value, it is such that there is a trade distinction between the two, and that's the threshold which we are trying to cross, right? So there is like let's say an arbitrary amount of moral value 1, and then we have an arbitrary threshold of moral value 5. You're saying that there must be some trade distinction between those two moral values, that one is not crossing the threshold, while example some like moral value 7 would cross the threshold, correct?
No. You want to move on?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, well,
This is just getting boring.
Yeah,
like,
there isn't
but that's what you
much
said
else. There isn't
verbatim.
much else that
Yeah.
we need to talk about. Like, do you have any closing statement or?
I don't believe that is necessary. I'm just getting
Okay, I'll just end the
bored, like.
recording.